is to be a part of a student success. My name is Hila. I'm the Director of Business Development for Masa Israel Journey. And we're going to talk about chaos a bit. I hope that you're okay with that. So first, just so you'll know about Masa Israel Journey. We are an organization that was established in 2004 by the government of Israel and the Jewish Agency. We are also grant providers. We have 4 different segments: study abroad, internship, volunteer, and gap year. The gap year can also be between undergrad and grad. We had since 2004 over 130,000 participants from over 64 different countries, and we are also grant providers. So, after we got through this part, let me tell you about this small country that you've just heard of, but with a twist, you know, like martini. Did you know that Israel is one of the largest ecosystems in the world? Did you know that Israeli companies are one of the most traded countries, actually the 3rd traded country in NASDAQ after US and China? Did you know that Israel is #2 in innovation? And I think this is why Silicon Valley is #1, because they stole all the Israeli. Because, you know, if you go any tech, like invention or anything like that, there is an Israeli name along the way. And another fun fact is about the Israel cybersecurity industry. Did you know that we're second to the US? Isn't it amazing? And why is it amazing? It's amazing because we're such a small country in such a huge global economy, right? So what happened? How did a small country with only 8 million people became so successful? But let's look at ourselves. Why is it interesting even? Because we thought if we're so successful and we're so small in such a big universe or world, how can we translate this success or this recipe for success for participants? Wouldn't it be amazing for participants to come, to have these skills, to have this strategy for success, and go to the world and be their own 3rd largest ecosystem, right? Isn't it amazing for universities? Because then the alumni are successful, the university is successful, and for us as a nonprofit, they ask the students at the university, how did you become successful? Israel was a part of my success story. Huh? So, this is a part of the theory that we came up with, the theory of organized chaos. And I'm not saying it because I'm Israeli and Eastern European and I like to get things organized. I'm saying it because I'm okay with chaos. Chaos is fun. As Eric said, let's play through the mud and see what happens, because great things thrive from there. So what do we know about participants? What do we know about students? We know that they're in a very critical point in their lives. It's very sensitive. We are about to graduate school, or we just graduated school, or we just graduated high school. What am I going to do with my life? What is this 5-year plan? I have a plan, it's written down, it's on paper. But what does it even mean? Do I know anything about the world? Did I work in a company? No. I went to social work school. What does that mean? Some chaos, right? So, let's make it organized. So I said before about the success of Israel, but what does it mean? So let's talk a bit about what Eric was saying and put it in the pattern that actually makes it relate to global success. So Israel is an immigrant country, right? We had a lot of immigration coming, but no natural resources. We didn't have gas, we didn't have oil. What are we going to do? What are we going to feed ourselves? How are we going to protect ourselves? It's crazy. Like the Jewish mom is very crazy about her child, right? What am I going to do? So we thought about it. Technology. This is a resource that we can have. So we thought, okay, immigrate needs to keep reinventing themselves. Technology needs to keep reinventing itself. So our culture keeps on reinventing itself. It can be in technology, it can be in education, because Israelis don't stop. They have to think all the time. It's a very agile society. Then the government said, okay, if technology is our way to strive, to protect ourselves, to there started to be VCs. Now we have funding for companies and government for over 400 million supporting these accelerators that got started in the early 90s. And then the army said the same. We're a small country. How are we going to protect ourselves, right? So that's technology. So students in young age, like of 18, start being the best in cybersecurity. They're being trained at a young age to be the best in the world. And why will they work harder? Because they're being threatened by the environment and we need to survive, so we'll be better. And we're never satisfied. Something about an Israeli person that you'll see, the best thing for us to survive is dissatisfaction. Wendy Singer actually researched it for Startup Nation Central, and she said, this is amazing. Why? Because when you tell an entrepreneur or an Israeli, you cannot do it, he will find the window. Yeah? So we found the window, and then we said, okay. What happened was, we had a country, no resources, tons of chaos, and we found our thing that we love doing, and we made it work, and we made it the largest ecosystem, right? One of the largest ecosystems. So what happened with the participants? Let's do for them the same thing. Let's be with them with their chaos, find their passion, the one thing that they're good at, because they will find it through the journey. We'll support them, we'll give them the resources, but they will have to find it themselves. Because this is the Israeli way. And then, do you know when you go to a meeting and your boss is talking or your CEO is talking, and then you really want to say something, you have this big idea that can change the world, right? But you don't. Because what if this idea is stupid? What if this idea is not going to work? What is it going to say about me? So we Israelis broke that bone. We have no bone, right? We go to meetings and we say what we want to say. Like Eric said, I'm presenting if you want, just, I'm Israeli, come, ask your question. Think about the Zion Gym, the whole theory about speak your mind. So we have a culture here that can't stop speaking its mind. So then what we do, we train people from all over the world to speak their minds, because this is where great ideas and progress come from. This is where the best startups get created, the best innovation, R&D centers that we have in Israel, right? The biggest companies like AT&T and Coca-Cola. So we get our participants to figure themselves out. Then they collaborate with a professional mentor that they have in their internship placements. As we said, we have over 3,000 internship placements in any kind of field. Kind of amazing because we have so many startups in Israel, right? Or big companies, even PwC. It's a way of culture. It doesn't matter in which company you're at. So you work with your mentor, you work with your team, you work with fellow Israelis, you work with even Brazilians that are coming from 64 different countries, and then you make your idea grow, and then they work with you. And what happens? The ecosystem grows. The world grows because we bring new ideas and we support them, okay? So this is the idea, this is like the formula. Take what you bring from your home country, take your knowledge, take your ideas, then get the skills from Israel and from how they became successful. Put them together and let's create a better world, right? A better world of progress. So these are the part of the skills that we found as a part of our research is benefiting getting accepted to Ivy League universities. Benefiting, we went to HR departments and we asked them, what is your ideal candidate? And what is so unique about Israelis that make them a better candidate for you? So what we discovered is that you know how it goes when you have your daily routine and you do the things that you kind of used to, and then someone from a different culture or even a different state comes and you're like, this is what you normally do? This is not how I live my life. This is very different. And you're like, no, this is how I act every day. Like, I brought one of the delegations, we do Dean's delegations, to Israel. Because a part of the work that I do is to develop agreements with university to build customized programs for their departments. So Lars from Tulane University came and said, I know why you don't use agile as a word or as a agile project manager in Israel. Because you are agile. This is what you are. And we haven't noticed because we didn't stop thinking, how So, for example, let's take decision making. Decision making in Israel is very quick. Early stage startup or a new department that you just opened, you need to survive, right? You need to make decisions now, today. In the US, you have a meeting, you go to analyze the data, you go back and you have another meeting, and suddenly what happens? The trend is gone. Another company was built. Goodbye. That's it. So in Israel we say, you do, then we fix it later. It's fine. Never mind that. So when you are with Israelis that think the same, you adapt. We also have this thing, a flat business culture, which means that the CEO can sit next to the intern, that sits next to the VP, and actually they go to the same restroom. I know, you're shocked. I was also shocked. I know. So the thing is that they have bar nights, and usually you would think, why go to a bar night with, interns and VPs and CEO? What's the point in that? So actually, bar night is a very different concept in Israel. It's actually a part of your personal and professional development. Because when you go to that bar night, the CEO, we kind of call them like mock-up nights, and you can replace the N with the F. Why? Because the CEO is talking about how his day was. Oh my God, I failed, and this didn't work, and that didn't work. I'm so frustrated. But also the other thing. Why? Because we're Jewish, we only see what goes wrong. It's very hard to see what went right. So, but what happens is that the intern that's sitting on the same table, sharing kind of the same beer, is saying, hey, but I have an idea. Maybe we'll try a different strategy. Maybe it will work. And then the CEO gets challenged because the intern or the manager just challenged him, right? And the intern gets empowered. Oh my God, I contribute to this process, to this great idea. How amazing is that? So when he goes to his classroom, after the 5-6 month internship, guess who is going to raise their hands in class? Guess who is going to send that resume after he failed the 3rd time? This guy. So another thing is the togetherness. Eric talked about the army. And in the army, you were like 2 years in the army. You eat, you sleep, you drink with your teammates. You're there, you need to strategize really fast, but you're in the field. I know, again, you'll be surprised, there is no boardroom in the field. No. You cannot assess what's going to happen. So you learn that there is a bigger goal here, that there is accountability, that when I'm in a company, I work for my team. My team has my back, I have their back when it comes to the big question. It doesn't matter that I have a competition with another employee. It doesn't matter. It doesn't. It's all for one goal, for one company, accountability. So these are just a few examples. I'm just going to use the last one for the sake of time. Innovative thinking out of the box. So one of our startup companies, what happened was that, imagine that, they wanted to have a service. We have Uber rides, we have a lot of apps for transportation, right? And they're competing with each other. And they said, we want to understand what is the average price that a client is willing to pay in New York City, because that's where they did the pilot, okay? So, and they discovered that they need to take from, so when you swipe your credit card at a taxi cab, it tells you, the information goes to the New York State, and it tells you how much the person paid, what was your demographic for it. So think about it, if you want to have a competitive service and a shared ride, if you have this information, you can have a competitive price that actually people are going to use your product. So the Israeli entrepreneur that thought about that idea, he went to New York State and they told him, no, we're not revealing any information. So what would you usually do, right? You go home, your head is down, I'm sorry, you go to your wife, I had this great idea, but I knocked on the door of New York State and they said no. So no, that's not what he did. Because as I said before, he found a window, right? So he sued New York State. And he got everything that he needed to understand what is the average price for a shared ride that is going to break the market. And guess what? Via. Did you hear about that? So they're a very successful startup that operate in New York City. It's a shared ride, $5.99, any place in the city. And I'm not working for them, but they are working with me, so it's good. So I'm just gonna mini video. Can you understand? Do you know how can we make the sound work? Yeah, it doesn't have the speaker working there. See, Israel, number one in technology, but we're in Chile, so we need to deal with that also. So we'll give it a try for like a split second if it doesn't work. Another thing that I didn't mention, that Israelis are very flexible. As I said, we're in the field, they're shooting, surrounded by enemies. If you're in the field, you need to make very quick decisions and very quick strategies, so you are very flexible. And this is me. I'm an Israeli. Grew up in Israel, was born in Israel actually, grew up in the States. So, good. If you have any questions so far, feel free. Here? So basically in this video, what we're going to see is Playbuzz. Playbuzz is a company like BuzzFeed. We have Shaul here, he's the CEO, Shaul Ulmelt, and what he's talking about is how he started as an entrepreneur. What he mentions there is that as an entrepreneur, you need to be very dedicated to your goal. You need to be passionate about what you do. You need to strive for it. You need to fight for it. You know, that's the Israeli way. We fight. So then you'll see Margot. Margot was one of our interns. She's an alumna, and she had a conversation with Shachar. Shachar is a VP of content for Playbuzz. And you can see also the flat business culture, because what happened with Margot, she's a very ambitious young woman. She started coming from arts and science. She learned in Denver, and she didn't know what she wants to do with her life. And what happened was that she discovered, do we have sound or no? Okay, what happened was that Margot, interning in Israel, you know, working with Israeli, pushing her to be outspoken, telling her mind, right? Margot knows how to tell her mind. So she helped build Playbuzz infrastructure in the US. And now she's a manager in Playbuzz, okay? So we will share this video with you, and I encourage you to see it. It's really great. Our team works up on it really hard, so I apologize. Okay, so let's go a bit backwards and forwards at the same time. So what we did, we told you about the skills that if you acquire them, you get global success, right? So we thought, okay, we have these skills that are kind of not like, you know, students are not familiar with them, it's something new, but we want them to implement these skills and carry them forever. We don't want them to know that only for 5, 6, 7 months, right? So how do we do that? So then we went and saw how corporations become more efficient. When they want their employees to be more effective, what do? And sustain the success and the skills, of course. They look at their mental model. And then the way to change the mental model is by training. So what is a mental model? A mental model is the way we perceive situations and what we feel is expected of us to do in the situation based on the consequences. So for example, again, I'm going to take Eric before that he came at the beginning of his presentation and was talking about, hey, feel free to interrupt me, I'm Israeli. So this is exactly it. When I go to an American university, when I go to speak, so what happens is, everyone quiet. No one is talking, no one is raising their hands, because you know that when you go to a presentation, there is a certain expectations and there are also consequences. If you talk on the phone, there are consequences. If you raise your hand before I stop speaking, there are consequences. It's bad. But in Israel, if you don't lift your hand, it means that maybe you're not engaged. If you don't talk, maybe you fell asleep, and we don't want a BlackBerry effect, right? So we said, okay, let's train supervisors how to change the mental models of participants, how to train them, right? It's change. So then the change will be sustainable, that everyone will recognize what is so unique. Because what happened with supervisors, we found, is they're Israelis. So they do things that for them come natural. But guess what? For other participants from 64 different countries, not necessarily, right? So we had to train them. We had to train them, this is a unique thing that you do. And I'm going to talk more about how we train them and what it meant. But just as an example is, you need to train the participants that this is an out-of-the-box experience. You need to train them, you need to take them to bar nights, you need to take them to meetings, you need them to be a part of this immersive experience so they will be more outspoken. So they will understand there is a thing called the flat business culture, that they can sometimes represent their company in Dubai or China, which happens, by the way. Okay? So we based on that, on the knowledge, the immersive experience, our reconstruction to change the mental model of supervisors and participants, based on our knowledge that after 6 months of practicing a complex behavior, it becomes automatic. And our goal, as we said before, right? Let's go back to the beginning. Make them global citizens, successful global citizens. So we need the change to stick. And how does it stick? By training. But think about Israel, it's a very special country, right? We're agile society. So in an agile society, you get the change after 4 months. So it's best because we have a 2-month program, 5-month program, and 10-month program. So either you're like extremely into the society after 10 months, you're okay in the society after 5 months, and 2 months, believe me, you want more. So just to make it a bit more, we started chaos, so a bit more organized. What is the process that we did to get to these amazing findings and implementation of the program? First we saw we had a program goal, success. Then we said, let's understand what is the mental model for the US. What is the mental model for Israel? And how this hybrid can be the most successful global citizen. Because if Israel is very agile and good at the start and kickoff stage, we need to make something sustainable after we succeeded, right? The startup succeeded. We went to the 3-month stage. The new department succeeded. EY wanted us to keep on going with the Chief of Innovation Office, right? But then we need someone to tell us, you need MS Project. You need Slack. You need to move on from Excel sheets that are good with quick decision making with an actual software that will support what you do for the long run and for the bigger ideas that are going to come. Now we need to sustain your success. So this hybrid of the US and Israel is amazing for global success. But this was a part of the process of what we discovered, right? We discovered that this is the skills of the US student with the Israeli student that makes success when you combine it. So after evaluating and identifying the key attributes of success, we went to the almost final stage. Okay, so we did this research, and this is what we think, but it's like my mom said something about me that is good. Okay, she's my mom. But what happens if the neighbor says something good? Or my boss says something good? She's like a third party, right? So let's go to the third party. We went to HR companies, like HR departments, in big companies, in startups, in ones where you want to imagine your students going to work for. We went to admissions office, the one that you want your students to get accepted for their PhD or for their graduate school. I don't know, or just be considered, right? So we asked them, are these skills that we found, is this behavior that we're describing that is happening, is it success for you? Somebody said no. I can be rejected, and then I was flexible because I got the yes. And what I demonstrated before is a part of the yeses, okay? So based on the yeses, based on these skills that we So we trained supervisors, we trained the students, we did a complementing program for our findings. Then we said, okay, we don't end our relationship at 5 months. We don't end our relationship at 10. This is a lifetime commitment, baby. This is how it works, right? Israel and us forever. So we did, let's build a global network of alumni. Let's build a global network of positions with Israeli-based companies, parent companies, and their extension all over the world. Because Israelis, as I said, any technological discovery, you'll find the Israeli name there. And as Eric said, we have the 0 degrees of separation. Because you went to the army with this person or that person, and you ate the same lunch together, and you were a that unit, so it's a phone call away, right? So, when you become part of this clique, of this ecosystem, suddenly positions are a phone call away. Isn't it amazing? Like we have 80 to 100, a high cybersecurity unit. They have their alumni network. In the forum, oh, I need a job in Boston. There you go. So, what we said is, if companies in Israel, startups and big companies that went through a really hard quality assurance policy, remember, we are an Israeli government organization, right? So, high quality assurance. And they have extensions in the US. Let's build a position bank for alumni. Because then they get an alumna or alumni that came from their home country, so they know the local market, right? They're a resource. But also, they know the Israeli craziness. So now they're hybrids. It's amazing. So for them, it's a global market advantage, because now any Israeli company in the universe of the ecosystem see them as a desirable candidate, and guess what? There is a bank with positions just waiting for them to open. And even if they don't open the position bank, someone that they worked for in Israel knows someone else that worked for a company that works with a company like Margot. She didn't work for Playbuzz in the beginning, but then someone knew someone that sent her to Playbuzz, and then Playbuzz discovered she is someone we really want to nurture, and that's what they did. Okay? So then we did a feedback loop, because as I said, we always like to hear feedback. If we don't hear feedback, if something didn't go wrong, something really went wrong. So we want to hear what worked, what didn't work, what happened, what didn't happen. As we said, we understand why do we make a quick decision making? Because if we analyze the data and analyze it from the office, we never know what will happen in the field, because the field is completely different, kind of, right? So we want to hear from the field what happened. Like Northeastern is one of our partners. And they said, okay, there's such a huge process with understanding. We have 5 different providers. We have 3,000 placements. It's so hard for students to choose what they want. So then we said, okay, you know, you're right. Choose one provider. Choose specific internships that you want for each department in your school. Let's make it organized. We listen. It's fine. We're Israelis. We're flexible. The video doesn't work. We're good. So this is our vision based on our discoveries. And I really wanted to, you know, I know I don't think and everything, but I really wanted to take a minute just to read it. Because this is a really a part of who we are and what we are. We say we don't want to structure your experience. We want you to structure your experience. We're not going to tell you how to be a leader. We want you to find the leader in you. Work by the Harvard model, which says you recognize the gaps in society. You lead the change that's recognized. It doesn't matter your title. Your behavior matters. So find your passion. We'll give you all the resources. We'll construct some of your experience, but not all. And then you plan your schedule. If you want to take any initiative, all you need to do is ask. You know, we have MITF. MITF is Masa Israel Teaching Fellows. We collaborate with Teach for America, Peace Corps, and City Year. And the thing about MITF, we had a student, he was a theater major, and he didn't know what he wants to do with his life. He didn't. So he said, okay, I'm going to teach in Israel, fine. I'm Jewish. A program I work with for Jewish and non-Jewish. And he said, you know, I want kids in the 12th grade to do the Lion King. that new interns come and they're being guided for the same program. This guy ended up teaching at Ben-Gurion University because this empowered him, and it empowered the kids, 12th graders that never spoke English, and now they're actually presenting The Lion King and The Wizard of Oz. Amazing, and it all started because one intern had his passion and his sight on it, and he really wanted to make sense. And another supervisors that went with it. Why? Because this is our vision. I'll give some more examples, but this was a nice one. So our programs did not facilitate the experience of being blended into the Israeli society. There is a bar night, there is a group activity, there is a meeting, anything. Okay? There must be also an enrichment component. They must travel all over Israel and do tours. I know, difficult, especially in Tel Aviv. The beach, beautiful. Okay, so the principle, the vision, let's make vision into actual principles and guidelines for the training program. So the principles were that there must be an external journey. You will find your career path, you find what you're good at, you do it, you'll be successful. You might fail, but if you say that you failed, we teach you how to get up. If you're frustrated, we have sometimes interns that are coming in, I'm really frustrated. Like, I don't think I want this placement. So we said, okay, frustration, a growth opportunity. Come back to me in 2 weeks. We'll talk. And guess what? They don't come back. They're good. Sometimes they do, and we make the change, but, So, 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
Okay.
We need to leave time for Q&A.
Sure. So then we talked about the role of the education staff and the importance of having a clear balance between challenge and support. Have it be challenging enough, but also provide support when it's needed. Very, very important, because this is a journey that is going to take them to a lot of out of the box and out of their comfort zone where growth happens. And they will be, obviously, in contact with a variety of complexities. Need to be open to that. So this is Margot. She's the alumni that I was speaking about. And she was the one that helped me build Playbook's infrastructure. This is Tom. He built with his Israeli colleagues a startup called Cleanly, and now he's the CEO of it. It's a very successful startup. This is Zach. He found the leader in him. He was challenged by the situation, he led by behavior, and when he came back to the States, guess what? He's a leader in the community. And Cal wanted to get accepted to Columbia University. He came back a bit more outspoken and got accepted, and also built his startup. And his startup focuses on the relationship between students and professors. So he learned it's okay to speak freely with authority. Nothing happens, the mental model changed. The consequences are different than what we thought, right? So he built an app on that. Very successful. So what did we learn? Just to sum up how we do measure global success. So we measure global success by alumni being employed by Israeli companies all over the world, leaders in their community. They learn how to lead by behavior, the title does not mean a thing, but then they create the title. They attend top Ivy League universities, and they become entrepreneurs, creating their own startups, sometimes with Israelis, sometimes with other program alumni from the 64 different countries. Isn't it amazing? So this is the network, the global network that I talked about. All the Israeli companies all over the world. This is the global ecosystem that I was talking about in over 30 different countries. Isn't it amazing to intern in such a small country with only 8 million citizens, and then be able to be a part of a global community of positions in over 30 different countries? Amazing. So this is a video by different Israeli companies that are hiring in in Boston, in Chicago, in New York, in London. We have Taboola that is very successful. There is Cultura that is very successful. Datorama, I know, doesn't mean a thing for you right now. But we can talk later. It will mean a lot. So, Get Taxi is also an Israeli company. There is Israeli company. So, conclusion. We're finally here. What we realized through this journey, and through this analysis, and through this theory of organized chaos to global success, right? We went through this journey from chaos to organized success. That if each country will identify the unique factors of their culture that make them successful globally, like we did, implement it on the immersive experience their program provides, and also provide opportunities to preserve the new skills, practices, success, we are going to create golden global citizens. And the reason why we want this is because then, I know it's kitschy, very cheesy, the world will be better. So, be a part of us, be a part of the change, make the world better. Thank you.